Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Holding down the middle of the day.
This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Rouse's, Burbank and Lee on this Super Regional Friday. Fired up to be here at Rouse's. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there in the studio. We're getting you ready for Super Regional Weekend this weekend for the next 2 hours. We'll also talk a little bit of football. Billy Embody is going to be with us at 1:30. LSU football's elite camp has been going on this week. Billy and the guys at On 3 have been all over that. LSU had a cornerback say he's cleared and ready to roll. We'll talk about that at the end of the hour. And very, very excited to chat with LSU football running back Josh Williams. One, we want to talk some football with Josh at 2 o'clock, but we're also going to talk about their trip to Senegal. A bunch of the football players traveled abroad and went over to the Senegal and had, I guess, what would be a pretty amazing experience. And I'm excited to chat with Josh about that at 2 o'clock. If you're in the area, head on by Rouse's right here, Burbank and Lee. Get your shopping done for your weekend. We'll be here until 3 o'clock. And guess what? At 3 o'clock, I'll hand over the baton to Matt Moscona, and he'll be here until 6. So if you want to come hang out, we're watching Super Regional Baseball, Virginia 4, Duke 3 at the moment. That's on the TV right in front of me. I'll keep you updated on that as the show moves forward. We'd love to see y'all out here at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee before you get your weekend started. So speaking of getting started, let's do it. LSU and Kentucky tomorrow, 2 o'clock first pitch from Alec Box Stadium. It is a Super Regional best 2 of 3 winner headed to Omaha, Nebraska. Of course, this is a team that we're pretty familiar with. Certainly those of you that listen to this show have heard me talk about Kentucky all year long. I started back in February kind of going through every team every weekend because none of y'all wanted to talk about basketball. So we talked a lot of baseball. And I've been pretty outspoken about Kentucky since early March. And they have basically proved me wrong. They got into the NCAA tournament. They won a regional as a host, and they're here 2 wins away from Omaha for the first time ever. So let's dive a little bit more deeply into Kentucky here before we get to some LSU stuff in the next segment that I think is pretty jaw-dropping. This is a Kentucky team that went 4-6 in SEC weekends. They did sweep Mississippi State. They did take 2 out of 3 from Alabama. They swept Missouri. They swept South Carolina. So they swept 3 weekend series, which is how you can get to 16-14 in the league by having a losing series record in Southeastern Conference play. And yeah, sweeping South Carolina on its face looks really, really good. That is a regional host team. That is a team that is still alive in the NCAA tournament. Do I think they were playing very good baseball at that point? No, I don't. Am I going to take all the credit away from Kentucky for sweeping that series? Not all of it. Bama is a team that's still alive, playing for a berth in the College World Series, and Kentucky took 2 out of 3 from them a long time ago. Do I think Bama was great at that point? Not really. And then Mississippi State and Missouri were atrocious, and that's 6 of Kentucky's 16 wins. They lost 2 out of 3 to Georgia. They lost 2 out of 3 here in Baton Rouge. They lost 2 out of 3 to A&M. They got swept by Vanderbilt. They lost 2 out of 3 to Tennessee. They lost 2 out of 3 to Florida. The resume is not sparkling. The RPI was because they did, win a series against Indiana State, and they got some credit for beating Elon, and we know kind of how that formula worked out. But the body of work is fairly pedestrian. And we'll start with the pitching, and then we'll get to an offensive statistic that I cannot take my eyes off of that will literally dictate how I watch this Super Regional. But let's start with the pitching for Kentucky that LSU will see this weekend. And as I'm told, Nick Mingione is going to play this thing just like Jay Johnson is, and they're simply not going to announce starting pitchers until 90 minutes before first pitch. You will probably get it about 70 minutes to first pitch as the public. That's basically how both of these coaches are going to play these things. We're pretty comfortable saying that LSU is going to pitch Paul Skeens tomorrow. Jay Johnson was just quoted as saying they're not going to start the game if there's not a window to finish it, which leads me to believe that if there's some threatening weather in the area, they're not going to force him out on the field and they're going to wait, and Paul Skeens is going to pitch tomorrow. But I don't know what Kentucky is going to do tomorrow. They've got some options here that I'll go through, and you'll get the theme of where I'm headed with all of this with Kentucky. Zach Lee is essentially been their most dependable starting pitcher. He's a 6'4", 200-pound senior. Last week in the regional against Indiana, he threw 7 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 9 strikeouts, no walks. He gave up 2 homers, including a leadoff home run on the first pitch he threw last weekend. He's been a fairly dependable starter. The fastball's about 93 miles an hour. It's nothing unbelievable. He's got a pretty tight little slider that doesn't like dart or go hard down. It just kind of spins off the barrel. And then he's got a changeup that fades against left-handers. He's been okay. Travis Smith is a guy that's basically been their midweek starter who started the first game of the regional. I told you Zach Lee was 6'4", 200. Travis Smith is 6'4", 200. He's a redshirt freshman right-hander. He's only made every appearance he's made this year has been a start. He's got 12 starts on the year. Only 3 of them were against SEC opponents. He starts in the midweek most of the time, and it is real average stuff. He was good against Ball State for 4 innings, and they took him out. But it's real average. Darren Williams is a guy that's been a starter for him, came out of the pen for him. He's 6'4", and right-handed once again. He's got those guys by about 30 pounds, but they're all 6'4", they're all 200+. He throws a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, an 83-mile-an-hour slider. He's been in college for 7 years. You've heard of Darren Williams by now. LSU hit Zach Lee and Darren Williams when they got thrown in Baton Rouge back in April. And then Mason Moore has been their best reliever in the last 2 weeks. Stop me if you've heard this before. He is 6'4", 205 pounds, and right-handed. You can't make this stuff up. They're all basically carbon copies. Nobody throws 98, 99. Nobody's left-handed throwing sidearm stuff. It's just a bunch of average Joes that come out there. Now, Mason Moore has a riding sinker. Everyone by now has heard he threw 10 innings last week, 2 5-inning stints, didn't give up any runs. That was against Ball State and Indiana. Here is the number on Mason Moore, who I believe, and we talked to Darren Hedrick earlier this week, who's the play-by-play voice of Kentucky, and I asked him point blank, I said, hey, if they get a lead on Saturday or Sunday, do you expect to see Mason Moore? And he said basically yes. Mason Moore, entering last weekend, before the regional started, he had thrown 40 2/3 innings and walked 27 guys. That's way over a walk every 2 innings. That's almost a walk and a half an inning. And last week, he threw 10 innings of 1 walk. So who is it? Is it the guy you saw last week? Or is it not? We're hoping the Thatcher Hurd we saw the last couple of weeks is the guy we see this week. Is the Mason Moore Kentucky got last week going to show up this week? I'm not sure. All these guys are pretty pedestrian arms. And because they're so interchangeable, if somebody doesn't have it, Nick Mingione is just going to change pitchers. Period. He may start Zach Lee on Saturday. If he doesn't have it, throw Darren Williams out there. If he doesn't have it, go to Austin Strickland. You want to change things up a little bit? Ryder Giles throws sidearm. Put him out there. But there's nobody in this bullpen outside of Moore last week, but it hasn't been the case the whole season, that you look to and say, oh, man, if that guy comes in, we're in big trouble. That guy does not exist for Kentucky. LSU should score a lot this weekend. Should score a lot this weekend. They did the last time Kentucky was in town. They should again. Now, I teased at the top of the show something that I uncovered today. We talked about it after Kentucky left town, but I went and found the exact stat from LSU and Kentucky's first series. This is absolutely and unequivocally, in my opinion, the key to LSU winning this regional. Unequivocally, the key to LSU winning this regional. Kentucky had 26 offensive innings in the first series. The first game was shortened to 8 innings by the mercy rule, and then 9 innings in games 2 and 3. 26 innings of offense. They did not score in 14 of those 26 innings. In those 14 innings where Kentucky did not score, their leadoff hitter went 0 for 14. They did score in 12 innings of work. In those 12 innings, the leadoff man reached 11 times. This is the only way Kentucky can play. They must get runners on base early in the inning. They've got to create some action, whether it's a hit and run. They may try to straight steal. You know they're going to try to bunt. Or they just need to get a couple of singles. But they can't play with 2 outs and nobody on base. I'll read the stat one more time for you. In 26 offensive innings against LSU, back in April, 14 times they didn't score, the leadoff man was 0 for 14. In the 12 innings that Kentucky scored 1 run or more against LSU, the leadoff man reached via hit by pitch, walk, or a hit in 11 of 12 innings. That's the key. Keep them off base to start the inning. If you do that, you take the bunt out of their hands. If you're ahead, you compromise what they can do stealing. And they're just simply not built to double and homer you to death. They're just not. We talk about all these home run records that have fallen across the SEC. Freshman home records fell this year at South Carolina, at Georgia, at Alabama. The Florida home run record fell. LSU's got 7 guys with 10 home runs. That's what's going on in college baseball. Kentucky has 1 player with double-digit home runs, Hunter Gillum. 1. I'm not telling you they can't hit home runs. Devin Burks has 8. He was the regional MVP last week. Grant Smith's got 8. Jackson Gray's got 5. James McCoy's got 5. It's not like they're going to bunt every time out. They're not Cal State Fullerton from 2012 when they deadened the bats. But you understand their identity. And you can take them out of it if you, 1, keep them off base as a leadoff man, and 2, if you get a lead. That's how they have to play. And that's how LSU's got to counteract them. Keep them off base to start the innings. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. You're looking to head out to the box and doing some tailgating? Corks can help you out with that. They can place a catering order, or if you're just looking for lunch late today or sometime this evening, Corks has got you covered there on Government, right there between Foster and Jefferson. They got a quick drive-through, and the food is wonderful. The catfish is not fishy. It's not dirty. It's clean. It's crispy. It's fantastic. They got that jumbo Gulf fried shrimp. They've got specialty items like their baked potato, covered with crawfish etouffee and topped with that fried Gulf shrimp. Corks, from the same folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue, a great partner on the Hunt Palmer show here, and we appreciate them bringing our Friday shows to you. We're out at Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. Excited to be here. We'll chat with Billy Embody on recruiting coming up in 15 minutes. When we come back, one of the most eye-catching headlines regarding LSU I've ever seen.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Telling you about LWCC. They are Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. And this month in June, we're telling you about Corey Barr. Corey Barr is the owner and founder of Parish Restaurant, Standard Coffee Company, and Heritage Catering up in Monroe, Louisiana. That's where he was born and raised. Corey's a Louisianan first and a chef second. He won Chopped. He was named Food and Wine's Best New Chef, and his career has been marked by incredible accolades. But for Corey, the greatest rewards come from supporting his local community of Monroe, Louisiana, and mentoring some young talent, giving back through some charitable efforts. He's trying to get young people in our state excited about cooking so they can pursue a career that's been as great as Corey's has been thus far. He's a Food Network star finalist in 2017. He beat Bobby Flay. Corey Barr, certainly a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, we want to tell the masses about it, and LWCC gives us that opportunity. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana like Corey Barr. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022.
Miami Heat look to even up the series at 2 games apiece when they host the Denver Nuggets in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. That's Friday night at 7:30 p.m. right here on your home for the 2023 NBA Finals. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Excited to talk with Billy Embody of On 3 coming up here in 15 minutes about LSU's elite camp that's been going on, been some offers going out, been some buzz in the recruiting world that some announcements may be coming, including on Monday. So we'll get Billy's full thoughts coming up in 15 minutes here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We are at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. You know, sometimes I tell you all about things, and it's not really my thing. I don't love that, but I want to let people know that things are going on because maybe you're very interested in said thing. This is not the case this time. I'm very interested, and we'll be taking advantage of this in short order. You can criticize me all you want. I love frozen pizza. And Rouse's has got a deal going on Red Baron frozen pizzas, which, by the way, are the greatest frozen pizzas ever. I'll eat DiGiorno. Fantastic. Tony's Party Pizza, that'll work. I'm not discriminatory in terms of party pizzas, but I will tell you that one reigns supreme, and that is the Red Baron. And they're only $3.97 here at Rouse's right now. That's a fantastic deal, and I will be taking advantage of it in short order. If you want to come take advantage of that Red Baron deal and you want to come by and talk some sports and watch Virginia and Duke, which we're doing right here, we'd love to see you this afternoon. Matt's going to follow me from right here in this chair at Rouse's on Burbank and Lee. I told you in the first segment that I saw a headline today that was as jarring as a headline as I've seen in relation to LSU. Kylie McDaniel, who does the scouting for ESPN for baseball, wrote a story, and the headline is why LSU baseball is better than some MLB farm systems. Keep in mind, LSU's working on 11.7 scholarships. Farm systems have 4 teams. 4 teams full of guys. LSU is working on 11.7 here. So I had to read the story, and I went through it with Kylie McDaniel, and essentially, without boring you with a bunch of numbers, he's assigned dollar values to prospect levels, basically. And so when you've got Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens, who are both potential first overall picks most years, if not every year, it changes the math a little bit. And keep in mind, when they do prospect rankings, generally speaking, a first overall pick, 5th overall pick, someone in that range, is going to immediately become a top 4 or 5 prospect in that organization. And you only get that pick once every few years if you're doing it right. But LSU at this point has Skeens and Cruz. So they've basically got a first pick and a second pick packaged on one team right now, which very few organizations get. So their dollar assignment is very, very, very big, as we know, because Dylan Cruz is the best player we've ever seen here, and Paul Skeens maybe the most dominant pitcher we've ever seen here. And that high a prospect level, when you're talking about these two guys who are immediately, when they join Pittsburgh and Washington, going to be top 4 or 5 prospects in that organization, carries a lot of weight. And he goes ahead and lays that case out, even using some dollar amounts. But he also goes as far as to say, look, they've got other top 5 talents on this team. Paxton Kling, Brady Neal, Chase Shores, Jared Jones, Ty Floyd, Jordan Thompson, Trey Morgan, Grant Taylor, all these guys are potential top 5 round picks. And we know that Kling doesn't play a ton now, and we know that Neal's been hurt. We know that Chase Shores isn't playing for this team, and we know that Grant Taylor's out as well. So these dollar figures that he's assigning to these players don't apply to LSU on the field tomorrow in a lot of cases, sadly. But he adds to the case. He's like, well, they also have Tommy White, Thatcher Hurd, and Christian Little, who are all very, very draftable. Now, we know Tommy White's got to be a huge piece to what LSU does this weekend. We know Thatcher Hurd has got to be a huge piece to what LSU does this weekend, and Christian Little hasn't necessarily panned out to be the type of arm, that reliable arm that we thought he could turn into. But he's still very draftable because he's got a really tight slider and he throws 94 miles an hour, and he's built like a defensive end, and those are attractive qualities in a draftable player. McDaniel continues on and says, I expect Floyd, Thompson, Morgan, and possibly Taylor from that list to join Skeens and Cruz in the pro ranks this summer. This is a historic amount of talent to leave a program at once, but LSU seems best positioned from any team in college baseball to replenish its coffers, and I would agree with that. So as he ranks the LSU's roster with 11.7 scholarships, I know that's a little disingenuous, but just humor me. He starts to rank the farm systems in Major League Baseball. The worst right now is the Braves, because all their really good players are like 24 and signed in really cheap long-term deals, and they've brought them all up. They brought up Acuna, and they've brought up Albies, and they've brought up they brought all those guys up. So the Braves are at 30. The Astros, 107 million. These are, I'm not going to explain how that goes, but the Royals 28, Angels 27, Tigers 26, Detroit Tigers, New York Mets 25, LSU Tigers 24, right in front of the White Sox and A's. So he would say that there are 6 farm systems in professional baseball that do not have the talent level that LSU has at this point. That's an amazing thing for someone who literally does this for a living to say. This is not some blogger who's trying to dig through the high A team for the Los Angeles Angels. This is not some LSU fan who doesn't think a lot of the Royals farm system and thinks Cruz and Skeens are better than anybody they got. This is Kylie McDaniel, whose literal job, 365, is to weigh minor league baseball and the upcoming draft class. And he says LSU's team is better than 6 organizations in professional baseball right now. And this all goes back to the point that I made immediately when this transfer portal and NIL stuff started happening. Looked around and I said, okay, there are a lot of guys who are good at baseball. There are like 15 places that care. And the difference between those 15 places and the investment that they put into their program, whether it's NIL, facilities, travel, coaches, all that kind of stuff, and plus the attention that they get on television, in super regionals, in Omaha, that whole deal, it so far outweighs the other 300-plus situations that all the good players from those 300-plus situations are going to try to find their way to the top 15. And guess who's sitting right at the top of the food chain? It's right down the street on Nicholson. And that's why LSU's gotten the freshman national player of the year 2 years in a row. That's why they're going to have the top 2 picks in the draft. And that's why this cycle is going to continue until more teams programs decide they want to take this more seriously. Jacob Berry and Tommy White and Paul Skeens are not the end of the road for Jay Johnson in this program in terms of the transfer portal. They're not. Far from it. Now, you're going to struggle to find guys a lot better than that. But when you just talk about the place that they hold, the number 3 hitter who hits 20 home runs and plays third base, the ace of the staff, the first-round pick, the regional opener, the super regional opener. When you start talking about that, those shoes are fillable. And Jay's going to continue to hammer the high school ranks and sign as many elite-level high school players as he possibly can. And guess what? If you sign 9 guys who are significant draft risks and 6 of them leave, you've got 3 of them. And guess what? It's not like those 6 spots that got signed in the draft are not fillable. You just go to NC State and get Tommy White. You just go to Arizona and get Jacob Berry. You just go to UCLA and get Thatcher Hurd. And that's how this thing is going to work. You can get, there's 300 and something choices for you to go get. And for LSU, it's not Southeastern Louisiana, Sam Houston State, and, Toledo. It's NC State. It's Vanderbilt. It's UCLA. It's Arizona. And that's how you create this talent situation. So while I want desperately for this group of LSU guys to get this thing done this weekend and in the next 2 weeks in Nebraska, and while it's going to be very, very difficult to replicate the ability of Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens on next year's team and moving forward, the advantage that you've got on the other 96% of this sport is massive. And I'm looking at my TV screen right now, and there's a guy that's in the 6 hole starting in center field for a super regional team that's right on my television right now batting. And they kind of told him, hey, there's not really any room here. It's Giovanni DiGiacomo. He's playing for Duke right now. I'm looking right at him. He's in a huge spot here. It's the top of the 8th inning, and Duke is down a run. And he just got hit by a pitch, so now the bases are loaded. But you get the point. You bring in a high school player like that, you try to develop him, and hey, not working out, I want to try Duke. So I just thought it was a fascinating piece that Kylie McDaniel wrote here. It's on ESPN Plus if you want to go check it out, and you can see how he crunches the numbers and determines how he came up with this valuation of LSU being better than 6 minor league systems in professional baseball. But that's the talent level that LSU's got this weekend, and you're aware of that. But when it comes from outside the bubble, I always like to bring it in because I think it illuminates it more. Me sitting here telling you LSU is awesome, well, I'm an LSU grad who is obsessed with LSU and is going to be in the box this weekend and wants nothing more than for them to win. So that doesn't carry as much water. Kylie McDaniel says it, who analyzes farm systems for a living. It carries a little bit more water, I would imagine. So I thought it was a cool story. We'll talk a little bit more LSU and Kentucky moving forward here on the show. We're out here at Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. We're going to hit the phone lines coming up next with our guy Billy Embody from On 3. He's been out at LSU all week long, checking out LSU's elite camp, doing some recruiting analyzation. There's going to be analysis. There's analyzation? Did that just come out of my mouth? Every once in a while you're on live radio and you say something and you go, where did that come from? I've been on this earth 35 years. I've never said that word. Analysis. And there are going to be some offers coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get Billy's thoughts on all of that. Coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
turn my music high, 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 high. Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you can run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clash and chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like this Wall Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Monday's OTB. Will we be celebrating a trip to Omaha, crying a crushing defeat, or anxious over winner-take-all Game 3? Either way, it's going to be a hell of a day. 7 to 10 a.m. Off the bench, 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We're here at Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee watching some super regional baseball. Duke has taken a 5-4 lead on Virginia in the top of the 8th in Charlottesville. That is the only game in progress so far. 4 games today, and then we'll have 8 tomorrow on a crazy Saturday of super regional baseball. Speaking of crazy, it's recruiting season always, and it's certainly recruiting season in the summer. LSU's elite camp been going on this week. Billy Embody and the crew over at On 3 have been all over it. Billy joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Billy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Hunt. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So fill us in on what elite camp is.
Well, I tell you, on Wednesday, you kind of got surprised a little bit because LSU kind of tweaked a little bit of their camp schedule this summer to move a camp to the middle of the week, which is kind of rare at times with colleges, but the turnout was great. And elite camp is an opportunity for, prospects from various levels to come out and show their stuff. But it's also a time for LSU to get some of their top targets in and work with the staff, get that feel. Maybe if they didn't get a chance to observe spring practice or, just get a visit in general, to get on campus and to, build a relationship with the coaching staff. And it worked out really well. I think they had a really good group of prospects on campus that were working out, and a couple of them now are, very much at the top of the list for LSU as far as priorities because of their performances. And you get a chance to just work out one-on-one with potentially your position coach. And get around the staff and see the facilities and do all those things. So elite camp every summer is the place to be. We have our national recruiting analyst, Cody Belair, who works on our rankings team. Last year we had Charles Power, who is the lead guy on the rankings committee in town. And the reason why they come in is because LSU is one of those camps, across the country that truly brings out the best of the best prospects, honestly, regardless of, if they're even being recruited by LSU or not. We saw Jermaine Matthews, a kid from Ohio, end up being the number 1 or 2 corner in the country and a 5-star last year. And he worked out at LSU, kind of by surprise. Those are the type of kids that roll through every year.
I've got some players specifically that I want to get to, but was there a headliner that was here this week that may have been a surprise or that's high on LSU's priority list that you saw out there working out this week?
Yeah, the big name this week was Andre Evans. Andre with an O, if you're going to Google him out there. But he's from Nashville. He goes to CPA out there, and we already have him as a top 100 cornerback. And I mentioned Jermaine Matthews because Andre Evans kind of had a similar performance. He came out and clocked a sub 4.5. He's already got a 10.500 meter under his belt. He checked in at 6 foot plus, about 185 pounds with a 34-inch arms, which is really impressive length for a corner. And he came out and dominated the camp. Shifty, physically well put together. And LSU had offered last week, and I think kind of an effort to get him to come to campus. And he backed that up. He showed why he deserved that offer. Alabama and Georgia also offered this month at camp. He's got NC State and Michigan. Those are the 5 schools that now make up his top 5, which he released today. But he told me after the camp, LSU is a priority for him to come back for an official visit. He wants a decision in July. So we'll see if some of those, maybe we see some visit shuffling for him. He's actually got some Louisiana ties. He really enjoyed, being around Robert Steeples, but also he's a prospect that would really fit in the Brian Kelly, program and what they want. He's very well spoken, high academic as well. So they're putting the press on him. He had an outstanding performance, and you could see why he's highly ranked and now why LSU's turning up the heat.
Does the DBU thing still play? There's no Corey Raymond. It's a new coaching staff, new DB coach. Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing. I was talking to someone, I forget which prospect, but even he said it, and he's a prospect that is being recruited by both LSU and Florida. And he said even though Corey Raymond left, LSU is still DBU, and that was a direct quote, which if some Florida fans saw it, they'd probably get all fired up and all that. But there are a lot of prospects that very much still see LSU as DBU, and why? Who could you can't blame them for that. Just the way LSU's produced DBs through the years, even before Corey Raymond. So yeah, it's very much still a thing, and the development. And if you come to LSU, you're going to face top receivers in practice. You're going to face them in the SEC and week in, week out for the most part, and that's the big selling point.
There's an in-state DB, Joel Rogers from West Feliciana up in St. Francisville, who's a 4-star player. Going to make a decision, I'm told, on Monday. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, that is one that we expect to go LSU's way. He was supposed to officially visit Alabama this weekend and then TCU next weekend. And he's called both of those visits off and was on LSU's campus last weekend. He's plays quarterback for West Feliciana. But also plays a little bit of DB. He's played a ton on the 7-on-7 circuit for his club team at defensive back. He's one of the best safeties in the country, and I think build-wise, athletically, he's got a chance to be a really, really good one. He just has that physical makeup that you really want. His body is pretty college-ready. He's not as tall as, but I think he's kind of got a little bit of Javian Toviano build-wise in him. He just looks the part. He looks like an SEC player. He's got that potential to be an all-SEC type of prospect who ends up going pretty high in the draft. So I expect LSU to land him on Monday, and that would give them, off the top of my head, either 6 or 7 of the top 10 in Louisiana for the on-3 ranking.
And that was something that a lot of people wanted to point out in Brian Kelly's first cycle. And you got your Arch Mannings and your Tackett. You got a bunch of guys that they did not get. But it appears that this looks like almost potentially a clean sweep in Louisiana, no?
It does. And, I think the coaching staff understands that number one priority, you got to get Dominic McKinley, or else somebody, I would say a lot of fans are going to be out there and just saying, you didn't get the 5-star defensive tackle. I mean, what does it matter? But this is a pretty impressive group of Louisiana prospects, and LSU is trending or, has commitments from, I would say pretty close to all of them. Dominic McKinley's going to be a battle, but, keeping him in Louisiana is something that is a massive priority for the staff. It's all hands on deck. Jimmy Lindsey, Frank Wilson, everybody involved on that coaching staff and recruiting staff are working in overdrive to get him. I expect him to pop up on campus at some point for an unofficial visit, and then official in the fall. He's cut his list down to schools like Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ohio State. But LSU has got to get him. And Wardell Mack as well, a guy who's in 5-star range in defense in the secondary, is another big priority. But, yeah, it has a chance to be a pretty incredible year for LSU recruiting Louisiana.
Chatting with Billy Embody from the Bengal Tiger over there, part of the On3 Network. One more, Billy. Appreciate your time very much here on this Friday. Colin Hurley back in town, LSU's quarterback commitment for the next class. What can you tell us about his development, why he's in town, and kind of where his presence is in this class?
Yeah, he's one of the key leaders. 4-star quarterback out of the state of Florida. Plays for Trinity. He's already won a state championship. I'm excited to see what he does as a senior. He skipped his junior year in a sense because he reclassified, but he was really impressive all offseason on the camp circuit. He's going to the Elite 11 finals next weekend in LA. So he wanted to come this weekend, do a little bit of recruiting while a bunch of prospects were on campus for unofficial visits in the 7-on-7 camp and the O-line, D-line camp that LSU's hosting tomorrow. And then he'll be back in town the 23rd for a massive official visit weekend. Double-digit official visitors already expected in. He's one of the leaders of this class. Him, Wallace Foster, who's a defensive back out of New Orleans, who's committed. I would say those are the two guys that are really Tavion Galloway, who was here for camp this week. Those are the guys that are really beating the drum vocally for LSU for sure. And Colin's just one of the most mature kids I've ever come across, watching him as a prospect and just how he navigates things and the work he puts in. So LSU's got a kid who's got the potential to be pretty good at the next level.
You talk about his maturity. Obviously, that's off the charts. What about the development of his body as somebody who's skipping a year of high school, which matters to most people?
Yeah, he is young. He's 16 right now. I'm 99% sure he's still 16. If not, he's getting close to, or has just turned 17. But he can squat 500 pounds. He can deadlift a house. He's physically developed. He's about 6 foot, 215, 220. It looks like from what I've seen, but his body is physically developed. I don't think he's somebody that you'd get to campus and you feel like you got to pack weight on. I mean, I think even though he's 16, I mean this is what you're looking at. Barring a kind of surprising growth spurt height wise, but if he's physically developed. I mean, he works his tail off. He works with trainers, doctors, all that to make sure he can do everything that he needs to out on the football field. And this is where his body's at. I think it's going to be pretty similar at LSU. They'll refine some things for sure when they get in, but he's got a whole team. He's one of the most kind of physically developed quarterbacks you could see as a 16-year-old. Just about 6 foot, but this is kind of, I would say he's in a position where he can walk right in. That's how they've developed his body. That's why he's moving up a year in his whole plan to get to college, because he's kind of physically ready to go.
Billy, we really appreciate your time. Enjoy camp out there, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me, Hunt. Appreciate it.
You bet. And he is Billy Embody, part of the On3 Network over there with the Bengal Tiger. It's Matthew Bruni. It's Shea Dixon. It is Billy Embody. And every once in a while I throw a baseball story up there, but they are flooding the message boards at this point with a ton of recruiting information. And I love hearing about Colin Hurley, about how he's kind of a leader in his class as a quarterback, even though he's reclassified. That's the kind of guy you really like to have in the middle of your class to try to put it all together. Still got some more football to get to. At the top of hour number 2, we're going to talk with Josh Williams, LSU running back, and we're going to talk a little bit of football with him, but he just went with a group of 10 other guys to Senegal as part of a travel abroad program, so I want to get Josh's thoughts on that experience as well as what that running back room looks like as they get ready for summer workouts and, of course, fall camp coming up here probably a little bit more quickly than we realize. When we come back, we will finish with an announcement from an LSU football player that he is cleared and ready to go. We'll tell you who and what his role might be next.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just
Charles Sandegriff joined me and Jimmy out for Live at Lunch on Monday from Big Mike's Sports Bar and Grill in Denham Springs. We're recapping all the college baseball action from the weekend and what's going on the Monday. Big Mike's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Watching some super regional action here at Rouse's. Burbank and Lee, Virginia and Duke are in a great one. They are in the top of the 9th. Duke has a 5-4 lead in Charlottesville, so Virginia will need to hold Duke here in the 9th and then get at least one in the bottom half of game 1 of that super. We're going to preview the rest of the supers coming up in hour number 2, give you some final thoughts on LSU and Kentucky. We'll also chat with LSU running back Josh Williams, who ventured with some other players to Senegal. I want to talk to him about that, as well as this crowded running back room that LSU's got and how that's going to play out. But we want to close out hour number 1 here with a tweet that I saw earlier today from Deuce Chestnut, transfer from Syracuse to LSU, who tweeted out, "I'm cleared. Let's go get a chip," meaning go get a championship. And I think this was a really nice ad for LSU. It's very much in the mold of Jarek Bernard-Converse, just without the Louisiana ties. This is a guy who played in what I would call a step down in league. The Big 12 is a step down from the SEC. The ACC is a step down from the SEC. But he was a really, really good player in the ACC. He was also a 4-star recruit and one of the top 25 cornerbacks in his graduating class when he signed with Syracuse. His freshman year in 2021, he was a freshman All-American by ESPN, Football Writers of America, Pro Football Focus, 24/7. He was a third-team All-ACC player. He was runner-up for ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. He started all 12 games as a freshman, had the second most passes defended in the ACC. He had 3 picks, which was the most at Syracuse. He was fantastic and was a starter right out of the chute. Week 1 as a freshman, he was a starter for Syracuse. His sophomore year last year, honorable mention ACC, started all 12 games at quarterbacks, and they didn't throw at him nearly as much last year. You see a freshman out there on an island, you're an ACC team, well, let's go get him. And he kind of bowed his neck and showed up against that. And then last year he was more of their number 1 cornerback and didn't see quite as much action, but really played very well. He's got good size. He's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, and I think is going to slide into LSU's secondary as the starting cornerback opposite Denver Harris. I think those are your top 2 starting corners. We can talk about who's going to be at nickel, whether it's Sage Ryan, whether you move Greg Brooks down. I don't know if he's going to be back at safety, one of those 2 guys with Major Burns. There are some pieces that are going to move around, but as I look at this, 2 months out from fall camp, I look at it and say, okay, that looks like a secondary that's going to start with Deuce Chestnut on one corner, Denver Harris on the other, and Major Burns back there at safety. You can move the chess pieces around, Javian Toviano, whatever you want to do between all that, you can do. And I think they'll get creative with some of that with Robert Steeples and obviously with Matt House, and they'll figure out a way to make that work, and they'll try a lot of combinations. But that feels like the combination. And Jarek Bernard-Converse had a really nice year last year. Of course, the play he made against Alabama early in that game in the end zone kind of turned the tide, not to use a terrible pun there, but got LSU off to a good start there, and he was drafted. And I think that Deuce Chestnut's got a chance to play here for a year and maybe get drafted. He's got the size they want. The production has been there at Syracuse. Now he steps up in class into the SEC. And you got to see, okay, what do you got? Are you capable of stepping up and playing Alabama's receivers and Florida's receivers and Texas A&M's receivers like you played Wake Forest receivers and NC State's receivers? That's a question that I think is going to be answered pretty quickly, because I think Deuce Chestnut is going to be a really, really nice add to this LSU team. And this is the kind of guy that you'd like to bring in. He's a guy who was highly recruited, who has played and been productive, and you just plug him in. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2, but you figure that's a really nice starting point. And LSU needed to restock those shelves at corner. There's no doubt, because all the guys they brought in just about last year moved on. And so you've brought in a bunch of other guys. And maybe Ty Alexander comes in and steals one of these spots. But in my opinion, I like Deuce Chestnut and I like Denver Harris. I think that's where it starts. And so that'll be a good talking point. But there were so many guys in the spring that were not available. It's why LSU's spring game was compromised a little bit. It's why we went out to practice, and they were so low on numbers all across the board. Deuce Chestnut was one of those numbers. He just wasn't available in spring ball, but he is fully cleared and ready to go. They got Mason Smith fully cleared and ready to go back a couple of weeks ago. So you're starting to see some of these guys get back to full health, and you're never going to get a full complement of 85 scholarship players right in line and ready to roll, but they're getting closer, and that's a really, really good thing. I think Deuce Chestnut has a chance to be a really good ad for LSU. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. You can catch us all those places, and, of course, on YouTube. You can catch us on demand each and every day. We're here at Rouse's on Burbank and Lee, having some fun here on a Friday. Matt's going to follow us up at from 3 to 6 on After Further View, right in this chair right here. We're watching Super Regional action. It is the bottom of the ninth in Charlottesville. We should have a resolution on that here coming up in the next few minutes, and we'll pause for SportsCenter. We'll come back very excited to chat with LSU running back Josh Williams on a plethora of topics with the LSU senior running back. So come back with us after SportsCenter. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
the best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight in Miami. The Nuggets lead the series 2-1 over the Heat. Denver has won 4 straight on the road, a franchise playoff record. ESPN's Tim Bontemps doesn't think anything will change tonight.
I think Denver's going to win the next 2 games to win the title because I just think that, Gabe Vincent said it best after Game 3 when he said we have a small margin for error, right? And the Heat really do have a small margin for error in this series in particular.
Tim Bontemps on Fitz and Harry. Our coverage starts at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. The game also on ABC TV. The U.S. women's national team stays number 1 in the new FIFA World Rankings. They've held the top spot for 6 years now. The Women's World Cup starts July 20th in Australia and New Zealand. Novak Djokovic beats Carlos Alcaraz in 4 sets in the semis at the French Open today. Djokovic won 12 of the last 13 games after Alcaraz cramped up in the Paris heat. Casper Ruud is up 2-0 against Alexander Zverev in the other semifinal.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 here on a Friday. We're at the Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Come on by, hang out with us, watch some Super Regional Baseball. Matt will be following me in an hour from right now, all the way until 6 o'clock. Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Come do your weekend grocery shopping and see us here at 104.5 ESPN. We may have some drama in Charlottesville right now, and we do. Oh, my goodness. In a 5-4 game in the bottom of the 9th inning, Virginia had 2 on and 2 out, hit a towering fly ball to left field, and the left fielder either caught it banging up against the wall or robbed a 3-run homer that would have won it. I'll have to see the replay, but it was close. All Virginia needed was a single to tie it. A home run would have won Game 1 in walk-off fashion. It looked like from the camera shot that he had gotten it, and the Duke left fielder makes the play up against the wall to win Game 1 for the Blue Devils. I'm looking at the replay here. This kid hits it, and the whole dugout thinks he's got it. He thinks he's got it. He doesn't know. He takes his helmet off. Oh, my goodness gracious. That is as close as it gets. He robbed a home run. I think it may have been over the fence. Wow. Amazing, amazing stuff. So, in the first Super Regional game of the weekend, Duke beats Virginia in Charlottesville 5-4. They are 1 out away from Omaha. Of course, Virginia is the number 7 national seed. They've got unbelievable players like Kyle Teal, who's hitting .423 with 13 home runs. They've got a really deep starting rotation. And they have plenty of pitching to get through this thing and win the next 2 games. But Duke is in the driver's seat now to try to get to Omaha. That is as close as a baseball game can be. What a ball game in Charlottesville. Told you we're going to have Josh Williams here at the top of the second hour. Sometimes college kids don't answer their phone. It happens. I was one time. So we'll talk some baseball here. If we hear from Josh, we'll get to him later in this hour. But I wanted to go through the other Super Regional games that will be played today. Keep in mind, today's games, all 4 of them, feature teams on the opposite side of the bracket from LSU. So the only way LSU would see any of these teams is if they were in the National Championship Series. The next game up will be TCU and Illinois State. That'll be a 4 o'clock first pitch on ESPNU from Fort Worth. What I don't know is if Indiana State is the home team today, because Indiana State is a national seed. They were the 14th national seed. but they can't host because of the Special Olympics. You probably know that by now, but the Indiana Special Olympics are held in Terre Haute. They don't have enough hotel rooms and adequate space to host the Super Regional, so they're headed to Fort Worth. And TCU's made a heck of a gesture to donate a lot of the proceeds from this Super Regional back to the Special Olympics. But I don't know from a baseball perspective who's the home team, so I'll be interested to see that. Kirk Saarloos is the head coach at TCU now, taking over for Jim Schlossnagle, who moved on to Texas A&M. Look, going to Fayetteville and winning is no joke. And putting up an 8 spot on Hagen Smith is no joke. TCU is white hot at this point. They have won 15 of 16 games. They have won 9 games in a row. They swept through the Fayetteville Super Regional, and they were impressive in doing so. Indiana State got through their regional in Terre Haute. They beat Iowa, who we're familiar with here. You remember Brody Brecht. He pitched in that regional, and they're a pitching-heavy team. But in that game where Indiana State beat Iowa, they got 10 hit-by pitches. I never heard of that. They almost got hit 20 times in their regional. That is hard to imagine. Now, this is a tough team. It's a physical team. They're really good at defense up the middle, Indiana State is. But I just like TCU. I think that TCU's got better players. I think they're at home. I like Kirk Saarloos' team, and it should feel pretty good if you're a TCU fan that Jim Schlossnagle is at home this weekend and you've advanced to the Super Regional round and need to win 2 games against Indiana State in your ballpark to get right on back to Omaha. So that's the game at 4 o'clock. I gave all my Super Regional picks on Twitter a little bit earlier, but I like Indiana State. I keep saying I like TCU to beat Indiana State. The 5 o'clock game for us is South Carolina at Florida. I have not seen starting pitchers yet. I guess I should search the internet for that. I'm going to assume that Jack Mahoney is going to pitch for South Carolina. I'm going to assume that Brandon Sproat is going to go for Florida. Will Sanders has been South Carolina's ace all year long. And he came out of the bullpen last week, and really, the stuff looked really good. He, as a starter, is 94-95 with a really good breaking ball. As a relief pitcher, he's been up to 97 and hammering that breaking ball, and it looked really good last week. And we talked to Joe Healy yesterday. I've listened to some of the D1 guys on their podcast, and the consensus basically is don't mess with that. Let Mahoney start. Go find another starter somewhere. Let Sanders come in and try to be the X factor out of the bullpen. Let him come in and let it fly. You don't need to worry about him throwing 115 pitches. Let him come in and throw 27 pitches that are really hard, really firm, and have good snap to them. Okay, that may be the recipe for them. Look, when South Carolina swept Florida, Ethan Petrie was white hot. He hit 2 homers against Florida in that series, and he hasn't been as good lately. At a point, South Carolina, to me, looked like the best team in the Southeastern Conference. They really did. And they just don't anymore. Now, last weekend, they beat the brakes off everybody. Was that a product of a weak regional where they got Central Connecticut, who LSU beat by 1 million here, and it just didn't have much resistance? NC State, I don't know. I'll be surprised if they go to Gainesville and get it done. Now, Sanders out of the bullpen can be an X factor, but Florida has just so many arms. And you're going to see Sproat, and you're going to see Waldrop, and you're going to see Caglione, and you're going to see Neely. And I just, with that offense, with Rivera and Cags and those guys, I just don't feel like South Carolina's going to go down there and win. Now, Florida had lost 3 consecutive home regionals before last week. So that program has not ascended to the level that it was when they beat LSU in 17 since now. So they're not playing great baseball, but I think they're the better team, and I think they'll win. And then you got Oral Roberts at Oregon. Oral Roberts is 49-11. They got a guy named Jonah Cox hitting .424 with 10 homers. But the key for Oral Roberts, and this is an X factor that not a lot of teams in the SEC had this year, and not a lot of teams that I've seen around the country have this year. Certainly the 2 teams that are playing in Baton Rouge this weekend don't have a stud closer. Oral Roberts does. Cade Denton is fantastic. He's thrown 54 2/3 innings this year. He's got 75 strikeouts, and he was great last weekend when they blitzed through a regional, and he's going to have to be great for them. So the key, it's one of those deals for Oral Roberts where you can kind of shorten the game, and Denton's not going to go 5, but he can get you 7 outs if you need it. So the first time Oral Roberts gets a lead on Oregon, they're going to go to Cade Denton. And that's the guy that they need to get him home. Think of Zach Hess for LSU back in 17. How you felt when he took the mound, that's what Oral Roberts has got. Now, Oregon's a little bit better, and I was impressed that they went to Nashville and really handled things against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's bats went cold. They've done that previous times, and they did last weekend, and they have been hurt on the mound. So it wasn't a full-strength Vanderbilt team, but certainly a talented one, and Oregon dealt with them. It's going to be a pretty good environment there for Oral Roberts. Not going to be the box. It's not going to be what you'll see in TCU. It's not going to be what we just saw in Charlottesville. But it should be a pretty good environment for a 4-seed in Oral Roberts, and we'll see what they can do against Oregon coming up at 7 o'clock. Those are your 4 super regional games today. Again, if you're just jumping in and joining us, Duke beats Virginia in Game 1 in a classic. It was a 1-run game. Virginia hammered a ball up in the air to left field with 2 guys on. Would have been a walk-off home run, and Duke's left fielder catches the ball up against the wall to end the ball game between those 2 conference rivals. Duke's pretty good, and if you weren't listening a little bit earlier, their center fielder is Giovanni DiGiacomo, a name you may remember. He's hitting 6th and playing center field for him, hitting about 265. Got hit by a pitch a little bit earlier, so huge win for the Duke Blue Devils. They are 1 win away from Omaha, Nebraska. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. You're looking to tailgate this weekend out at the box. Cork's can help you with that. They do catering, and they can get you some large orders of that delicious fried catfish, unbelievable fried Gulf shrimp, those awesome shoestring crispy fries. They can do it in bulk, or you just drive on through and get your normal dinner tonight, which is fantastic. It's from the folks that brought you Kuyons. It is Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. They bring you our Friday shows. We'll take a time out. We'll come back and preview the other side of the bracket. That is LSU's side of the bracket before we close things up here on a Friday. We're at Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Come by and see us. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. We're chatting with David Duvall a couple of weeks ago. He was telling me kind of the things that they've been doing more often the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that he's seen in the Baton Rouge area is if you've got a parent or a loved one who's aging and may need a little bit of help in the bathroom, whether it's a walk-in tub or some guardrails or a more functional shower, One Bath and Closets can help with that. I know that most often people don't want to move out of their home. Well, let One Bath and Closets come in and update your home so that your loved one can live there for a lot longer. Also on the closet side, it's shoe space. Just no one's got enough space for shoes, and David Duvall and his team can come in and make sure that that is the case. Whether you're Moscona, who just walked in and you got a ton of sneakers, or whether it's the woman in your life who's got a bajillion pair of shoes that are all piled up on the floor or in somewhere down the hall. One Bath and Closets can help you with that. And if you tell them that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, they're not going to charge you to rip out the current closet or the labor for the installation of the new one. They're just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. One Bath and Closets, our good partners over there with David Duvall and company. It's onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down my last dime. Cold in Baton Rouge. I'm what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We're at Rouse's Burbank and Lee, getting you set for LSU Kentucky Super Regional. The Riot Radio Hours return. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. Matt Moscona just rolled in. He's going to follow me 45 minutes from right now and after further review. So if you're looking to do some weekend grocery shopping, getting ready for the tailgate out at the box or the watch party at the house, or just groceries because you got to eat something on the weekend, come on by Rouse's. Burbank and Lee will be here right when you come in to the left, right by the big grill, the bakery, by the buffet. We're hanging out here watching some baseball and doing a little sports talk radio here. So come on by and do your grocery shopping. Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. All right, let's do LSU side of the bracket now. The games that will start tomorrow, game ones that will crank up on Saturday. And I want to start with Tennessee and Southern Miss, which is endlessly fascinating to me for like 20 different reasons, not the least of which is that Southern Miss had a priest walking around the stands yesterday. I guess he's trying to bless the place. I'm not sure what the inference was there. Maybe he's just saying, can we please score a run in the Super Regional this year, because they did not accomplish that last year. Last year they bashed LSU all over Pete Taylor Park for 2 days, and then they showed up against Ole Miss and literally did not score a run. So maybe they brought in a member of the clergy to bless the place so that they could score a run in the Super this year. But it is the end of the line for Scott Berry. He was doing his pre-Super Regional press conference today in just the most Southern Miss look I have ever seen. The man was in a T-shirt, which is perfectly acceptable, and blue jeans with a big old belt buckle. And somebody commented under, I mean, look, it's Southern Miss. He may be out there like putting the work boots on and getting the field ready for this weekend after this interview, which I guess is possible, but it is his swan song, and there's a sentimental pull there. There's a little bit of drama between these two because Tennessee probably thought they should have hosted. What I think is an interesting storyline here with this Super Regional is, let me tell you about a team in the Southeastern Conference that was thought to be doing great things this year, and then all of a sudden wasn't. And they were 5-10 in SEC play, and kind of on the outside looking in of the entire tournament, and then did some things late and got it done, and then went to the SEC tournament and went 0-1, and then went to an ACC national seed and swept through a regional, and now they're headed to Hattiesburg. All of that applies to Tennessee. It also applied to Ole Miss last year, who won the national championship. So I think that's a very interesting storyline, and I'm fascinated to see who we see on the mound for Tennessee tomorrow. Andrew Lindsey has been the #1 guy for over a month now. Tennessee wasn't playing well. They decided to take Chase Burns out of the rotation. They put Andrew Lindsey at the front. They put Dolander in the 2-hole, and they threw Drew Beam on the back, and now they've got Burns in the bullpen. You know that story by now. Tanner Hall is Southern Miss's best pitcher by a country mile. They've got some other arms that are good, and Ostrander is a great pitching coach, and he develops guys, but it's really Tanner Hall and the rest of them. So does Tennessee want to try to bite the head off the snake and throw Dolander out there? I don't think they're going to. I think Tony Vitello is going to say Andrew Lindsey is our first starter, and he's going to pitch the first game. Now, you are sitting here listening to this going, I don't really care the order of Tennessee and Southern Miss starters. Well, you might say that, but LSU would play the winner of this Super Regional in Game 1 of Omaha potentially on Friday if that happens. Now, I haven't seen how the bracket's supposed to set up, and maybe the regionals that start on Friday, on the super regionals that start on Friday, will be the games that they play on Friday of next week. That would make sense, but I don't think it necessarily works out that way all the time. So I will keep an eye on who these two teams pitch on Saturday, on Sunday, potentially on Monday, especially if LSU gets through, and then we're like, okay, who's coming on the other side? Because if you see Tanner Hall in the opener of the College World Series, well, that's tough sledding. If you see somebody else from Southern Miss, you've got a huge advantage. So this is an interesting one. Southern Miss still has some guys on that team that were in Hattiesburg last year when LSU played them, as you would imagine. Slade Wilkes has been awesome this year. He's got 20 home runs. Dustin Dickerson was in that lineup for them last year. He's hitting .328 with 10 homers. Carson Pato had a monster regional against LSU last year. He's still in the lineup, even though his year hasn't been as good. I like Southern Miss to win this regional. The Super Regional. There's a sentimental aspect, the Mike Martin thing. We'll see. There's Tanner Hall, who's pretty good. There's the home crowd. There's Tennessee's record on the road, which we know is 5-12. And then you got Southern Miss, who's 26-5 at home at the Pete. So I'll be curious to see how that one goes. Maybe the Priest got involved, and Southern Miss has really got some things working for them. We'll stick with the SEC. Wake Forest and Alabama tomorrow. Look, Wake's a juggernaut. Wake's 50-10. They were 22-7 in ACC play. They are 30-3 at home. Rhett Lauder has comical numbers. He's the ACC Pitcher of the Year again, 14-0. His ERA is 1.77. That's just outrageous in this season of college baseball where everybody's hitting a bunch of home runs. He's thrown 101 innings, 125 Ks, 20 walks. Rhett Lauder is a star, and he'll be out there in Game 1 tomorrow. But for Wake Forest, all three of their weekend starters have over 100 strikeouts. So they got three guys that can go, and they got a bullpen ready to rock too. And, oh, by the way, they got some guys that can hit, as you might imagine. Nick Kurtz is hitting .384 with 23 homers. Brock Wilkin, .353, 27 home runs. Wake's a juggernaut, and they've been that way all year. They have not lost a weekend, but we know that this is the weekend where the two SEC teams the last 2 years who had not lost, Tennessee lost once, but had been the best teams all year long, couldn't get it done. My contention is, at some point, the best team with the best record that's played the best all year will, in fact, reach Omaha. They will not be on a slump too long, and I think Wake is going to beat Bama. If they're not going to beat Bama, I think Andrew Pinckney is going to have to be out of his mind. And he could be. He was when they came to Baton Rouge. LSU couldn't get him out. He's got 17 home runs. Drew Williamson's got 15. Colby Shelton's got 22. If you're Alabama, I don't see any benefit in trying to pitch off of Lauder because the next two Wake starters are not that big a drop-off. They're still pretty good. Now, Lauder's the best, but I'm still going to throw Luke Holman in Game 1. Now, Luke Holman sometimes doesn't throw in Game 1, but that's generally because his head coach is gambling against his team. Now that I don't think their head coach is gambling against them, I think that Luke Holman will probably start Game 1. He pitched Friday of last week. I think he pitches Saturday this week. And can they get the ball to Alton Davis? In his last 8 appearances, he's only been scored on once. He's had 7 clean outings. That's the guy that Bama will turn to late in games if they've got a lead. I just don't think they're going to. I like Wake Forest this weekend. I like them big. I know that Alabama's a Cinderella story. I know they played really well last weekend. I know that they're playing for their coach and they're loose and they got nothing to lose. Fact of the matter is Wake Forest is better than them and they're going to beat them. That's how I see that one. And then the other game on LSU's side of the bracket is Texas and Stanford. And this is an awesome super. I'm glad LSU is early tomorrow at 2 so that I can get home and watch game 1 of this Texas-Stanford series. That is 2 blue bloods in the sport, and it's going to be a great series. For Texas, they've got Lucas Gordon and LeBaron Johnson, who both, as 1-2 punch for Texas, have ERAs under 3. That is phenomenal at this time of the year in this baseball season, as I just said about Rhett Lauder. Now, we know LeBaron Johnson. That's the guy you saw when Texas and LSU played on that Tuesday night back in February. And he was fantastic. He's moved into the weekend rotation. He threw the marble game against Miami last week. He threw a complete game and gave up 1 run against the national seed. He's awesome. And then they got Lucas Gordon, who is just as good. And Stanford really only has 1 starter. Now, he's really good. Quinn Matthews is awesome. I watched him come in relief on Monday in that game against A&M, and it was really impressive. He doesn't look impressive because he's skinny, but he's left-handed and he's wiry and he throws low 90s and he's got a really good breaking ball, and he's been their dude. Everybody else on that Stanford pitching staff is okay, but their offense is legit, and A&M found that out. They got guys who can hit it up into the trees at the Sunken Diamond. They're physical. They run. They hit homers. They're really good on offense, but the pitching favors Texas in a big way, and I'm just a pitching guy. Like, I know that the sport has shifted to offense. I get it. You want everyone to score a lot, and you can hit your way through these things. But I just like teams that can go up there and give me 3 quality starters. And I think Texas with that, too, especially if they can win game 1, assuming that Matthews pitches, it'd just be huge. Now, the problem with Matthews maybe pitching on Saturday is that he pitched in the regional for Stanford on Friday, and then he came back and pitched not an insignificant amount of pitches. I want to say 70-plus pitches on Monday. So that arm may be a little tired. You remember as an LSU fan when Landon Marceau started the regional opener in Eugene and then came back on Monday to close that regional out, and then they asked him to take the baseball in Knoxville, and against that really good offense, he didn't quite have it like you would like. And maybe that's the case with Matthews. Maybe they can give him until game 2. We'll see, but he is the X factor for that Stanford team. If you're just tuning in, haven't been paying attention, a classic in Game 1 of Super Regional action. Duke had a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 9th, and Virginia was trying to scratch a run across. 2 outs, runners on first and second. Virginia hits a long fly ball to left field. Left fielder makes the catch up against the wall. Looked like it was going to be a walk-off 3-run homer, at the very least maybe a walk-off 2-run double. Instead, it's a fly-out, and Duke wins Game 1 in Charlottesville. They are 1 game away from Omaha, Nebraska. We're here at Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. Come on by and do your grocery shopping. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got one more segment to go talking LSU in Kentucky before we play some Take It or Leave It. I've got some sound from me that I want to play for you from back a couple of months ago. We'll give our final scouting report of LSU and Kentucky before we give way to Matt Moscona here from Rouse's. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you could run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Oshner Health. Long live you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast.
Miami Heat look to even up the series at 2 games apiece when they host the Denver Nuggets in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. That's Friday night at 7:30 p.m. right here on your home for the 2023 NBA Finals. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Here at Rouse's Burbank and Lee on this Friday. I told you about the frozen pieces savings that they've got going on right now, which just melts my butter in such a wonderful way. Red Baron, the greatest frozen pizza ever made. They've got a special on them over here at Rouse's. Only $3.97, less than $4 for a whole frozen pizza. There have been many an evening when I was left to my own devices to make whatever dinner I would want. Red Baron frozen pizza would generally get it done. But they got other specials as well. If that's not your deal, you want something that doesn't come out of the freezer, that's fine too. They got a great deal going on pork shoulder steaks or country-style ribs, the value pack, only $1.47 a pound. That is more than half off here at Rouse's or any Rouse's location wherever you may be listening to us. Appreciate Rouse's for having us on this Friday. We're having a good time. About to hand the baton here to Matt Moscona in about 30 minutes. He will be broadcasting after further review from right here in this chair. Ryan Terry is going to join in for the Riot Radio Hours. So come on by Rouse's Burbank and Lee, do your weekend shopping and hang out with us. I'm watching some golf now. Got NBA Finals odds popping up on the screen. We're having a good time here at Rouse's when you walk in just to the left-hand side. Okay. I think most of you who listen pretty frequently. There aren't a ton of our listeners that lock us in like once a week for just a bit. Like most people are kind of present. So you get a sense of the way that general hosts feel about general things because you're with us pretty often. And if that's the case with you and you're listening to me, you understand what I've said about Kentucky really all year long. They're a team who grabbed our attention with a hot start to conference play when they swept Mississippi State and then took 2 out of 3 from Bama and then swept Missouri, and they were off to a really good start, and they had that series win over Indiana State, and they had a series win over Elon, who both had high RPIs, and they were a really high RPI team throughout the entirety of the season. But I dismissed that a little bit because of their style of play. In a year where everyone is crushing home runs over the wall and slugging doubles and bashing everything all over the place, Kentucky was bunting and stealing and was doing things in an unconventional way. And I just kind of thought that the wheels would come off of them. Now, they have shown some resolve, and they found a way not to get swept far more often than not. They got a game from Florida. They got a game from Tennessee. They got a game from A&M. They got a game from LSU. They didn't get swept by Vanderbilt, but more often than not, they got a game. And they did some sweeping of some bad teams. They swept Mississippi State. They swept Missouri, and then South Carolina was crippled, and they swept them. And they did enough to deserve a host site. They did absolutely deserve that host site based on the metrics and as you looked at a pretty soft hosting bubble. But I felt about Kentucky a certain way when they came to Baton Rouge, and I kind of feel the same way now. We're going to go back now to Thursday, April 13th show. I was 3 hours away from getting on an airplane to go out to California, but I was doing my show before the Thursday game when LSU played Kentucky, and this is what I had to say about the matchup between LSU, who is #1 in the country, and the Kentucky Wildcats on April 13th. I think LSU is going to light up Kentucky's pitching staff like a freaking Christmas tree. I think it is going to be a laser show for 3 days because I don't think these guys are that good. And if LSU can throw the baseball over the plate and not walk guys, they're going to crush Kentucky this weekend. I jumped the gun there, but that's how I felt that Thursday. And after I said they were going to light up Kentucky's pitching staff like a freaking Christmas tree, they hit a grand slam in the first inning and a grand slam in the second inning. They run-ruled Kentucky 16-6. They came back the next day and scored 10 runs. They came back the next day and scored 7 runs. That all held true. They hit Kentucky all over the yard for 3 days in that weekend series. And I said as long as you could throw the ball over the plate and catch it, that you would be fine. And LSU did not do a good job of that. I went through all of this yesterday. In the game where Kentucky scored 13 runs, you allowed them to score 4 of those because you didn't catch a pop-up in right field. 4 runs because you didn't catch a pop-up in right field. You can't do that this weekend. They will capitalize on that. And then, in the following inning, you basically allowed them via walks, hit by pitches, and some infield hits to put up another 5 spot. I gave you the stat earlier in the show, and I'll give it to you again. Kentucky can only play offense one way. LSU can play it multiple ways. They get hit a lot. They hit a lot of doubles. They walk a lot. They've got good left-handed hitters. They've got good right-handed hitters. They hit home runs. They hit doubles. They hit singles. That's a reason why they led the SEC in runs scored. Kentucky plays one way. They create traffic early in the inning, and then they make it pay off. In the series LSU played against Kentucky, there were 26 Kentucky offensive innings, 26 of them. In 14 innings, Kentucky did not score. Their leadoff hitter went 0 for 14. In the 12 innings that Kentucky scored a run or more in that series, they got the leadoff man on 11 out of 12. That is it. If you get ahead of them and then get the leadoff man out, you can break this offense off at the knees. You take the bunt away. You take the steal away. And then you force them to bunch a bunch of singles and doubles together. And that's really hard to do. LSU staff walked way too many Kentucky Wildcats in that series. Last weekend in the regional, LSU only walked 9 guys in 3 games. If you walk 3 guys a game and make sure that they're not leadoff walks, you will be in great shape. Now, there, of course, is an art to drawing walks, and I'm not here to tell you that Kentucky can't play a lick. That's not what I'm here to say. They do have an identity. They play to it. They embrace it, and they've won a lot of games doing it. What I'm telling you is that identity is limited. They have to play to it, and if they don't, they get beat. There is a reason this team that is coming into Baton Rouge this weekend lost 6 of 10 SEC weekends. There is a reason for that. The reason this team that is coming into Baton Rouge lost 6 SEC weekends is because they don't have an ace, they don't have a dominant bullpen, they had a bunch of 6'4" guys that throw 93 miles an hour, and they don't have another offensive avenue other than to get on base early, bunt, and try to get a run here or there. All of this is a roundabout way of saying Kentucky is not in LSU's class. They're just not. They're just not. Now, there have been teams that have come in and beat LSU in a regional that weren't as good as LSU. Houston was not as good as LSU in 2014. It's not unfathomable that Kentucky would punch their first tick to Omaha this weekend. I'm just telling you, I'm picking against it in a big way. Because I think their pitching is real pedestrian. I think their offense is real pedestrian. And I think LSU is going to take care of business this weekend. I think Paul Skeens gets the ball tomorrow. I think they don't do anything near statistically what they did against him because LSU was up 14-1 after 3 innings. I don't think they're able to scratch across a bunch of runs. I think Ty Floyd's a better pitcher than he was back when they saw him in April. And I'm just not buying that because they beat Indiana and Ball State that Kentucky's found something. They were a middle-of-the-pack SEC team. They're still a middle-of-the-pack SEC team. LSU is a legitimate national championship contender, and that's going to manifest itself over a couple of days at Alex Box Stadium. Yeah, I said a couple of days. I don't think we're going to see you on Monday. I'll be doing my show Monday, and we'll be talking about Jimmy and Charlie going to Omaha because I think that's how long this is going to take. LSU did not play well against Kentucky the first time, and they still managed to knock it all over the yard to the tune of 34 runs. In 3 games. That's the staff that's coming in here, and that's what's going to happen over the weekend. That's my pick, and I am very much sticking to it. So I've called this team a fraud on air. I told you they were going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. I've exposed myself to all the Kentucky crow that you could possibly find. And if I've got to eat it up on Monday or Tuesday, whenever the case may be, you can serve it right on up. But I just don't see it with this Kentucky team. I think there are probably 11 or 12 teams left in college baseball better than Kentucky. And one of them is LSU. And you will see that in a raucous Alex Box Stadium over the next couple of days. I cannot wait to get in there. We're out here at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. It's a great time to come on by and get your weekend grocery shopping done. We've been hanging out here since the start of my show, and Matt will ride it on out until 6 o'clock. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by for dinner tonight from the folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue. They've opened a new dining concept here in Baton Rouge. It's right there on Government between Foster and Jefferson, and it is fantastic. Go by there one time. Don't say, I'm from South Louisiana. I'm not going through a drive-thru to get my fried seafood. Just go once. It is a different dining experience, and you will not regret it. Cork's great partner here and brings us our Friday shows on The Hunt Palmer Show. We got one segment left. We're going to play some Take It or Leave It. Come back with us to wrap up the week on The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Monday's OTB. Will we be celebrating a trip to Omaha, crying a crushing defeat, or anxious over winner-take-all Game 3? Either way, it's going to be a hell of a day. 7 to 10 a.m. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One super regional game in the books, and it was a dramatic one between ACC rivals. Duke went to the bottom of the ninth with a 5-4 lead on Virginia. With 2 outs and 2 on, Virginia hit a high fly ball to left field. Looked like a 3-run walk-off homer. It was taken away by Duke's left fielder. The Blue Devils survive Game 1 in Charlottesville. They are 1 out away from Omaha. Still a lot of action today. 3 more ball games. In fact, they'll get underway at 4 o'clock this afternoon while Matt is on the air. Between TCU and Indiana State. South Carolina and Florida an hour later at 5 o'clock from Gainesville. And then Oral Roberts and Oregon will be the nightcap from up there in Eugene. 4 games crank up tomorrow on LSU's side of the bracket. That includes LSU and Kentucky, obviously, but also Wake and Bama, Tennessee and Southern Miss, and Texas and Stanford. So we have a huge weekend of college baseball on tap here on the television. A lot of people have asked me what's the deal with the game time on Sunday. Pretty simple. They're going to see what happens in the Friday, Saturday, Sunday super regional games. You'll get a first pitch for Sunday based on how many of those are going to a Game 3. sometime in the evening on Saturday. So after LSU finishes their game, within the next couple of hours. I mean, they're not going to wait until midnight to see when Stanford's done out there to figure it out, but they'll make a call sometime in the evening on Saturday when they've got a feel for how many of the Friday, Saturday, Sunday regionals will be over on Sunday. So just stay tuned for all that. They'll get you caught up, but hopefully LSU wins a couple of ball games Saturday and Sunday, and we don't even have to worry about what's going on Monday. We do have one more thing left to do here from Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, starting off here, Jay Williams said on ESPN this morning that Nikola Jokic could be the greatest center to ever play basketball. Take it or leave it.
I mean, could be. Sure, I'll take it. I mean, could be doesn't box me into a corner.
I'll take it.
Doesn't say that he definitely is. It just says that, he's got a chance to be. The skill set for him is really something to watch. For those that are tired of Steph and LeBron dueling in the finals all the time and don't want to see Durant, I think, if you're a basketball fan, you've been watching, but he really is something to watch. His ability to control the entire flow of the game on one end of the floor is really amazing. With his ability to score around the rim, post up, score from the high post, his facilitating is unbelievable. And there's just very few ways to counter his game. He's too big, he's too skilled, and he sees too much on the floor. So, sure, I'll take it. Am I ready to anoint him over Kareem or Shaq or any of those guys? Probably not, but he's only been playing for 5 years, and if he wins a couple more games, he'd start moving in that direction. So I think it's an interesting take and not one that I think is ridiculous.
The Cape Cod League will stream all of its games for free on D1 Baseball. Take it or leave it.
I'll take that. That's awesome. I don't know how many of LSU's guys are headed up to the Cape. But it's awesome. Anything that you can stream for free is cool. And I try to track LSU's guys in the summer, kind of see how things are going. I don't know if Thatcher Hurd's going to go up there and throw. I don't know if some of the Tommy White's going to go up there and play this summer in the Cape. I mean, those are guys that certainly would. I don't know if Brady Neal's going to be ready to go this summer. I don't know what LSU's baseball players' summer plans are, but if I can get word that a pitcher is going up there to get some work that LSU's going to count on next year, I'm all for it. Famously, Andrew Stevenson, he didn't go to the Cape, but he went out to the Northwoods League after his freshman year when he hit 190, but was in the lineup, and he hit like 340-something in the summer and then came back and was a 350-plus hitter his last 2 years. And so I'm not suggesting that somebody's ready to make some awesome leap, but you give me something to look at on the weekend. I'm not going to watch a whole 9 innings of the Cape, but if I can tune in and watch one of LSU's guys a little bit, I'm in for that, so I'll take that.
Today is the 50th anniversary of Secretariat winning Triple Crown, greatest racehorse of all time. Take it or leave it.
So you got to take that. I took it upon myself today to do some research on Secretariat because I mean, obviously I knew Secretariat was great and won the Triple Crown and won the Belmont by $1 billion. Like, I knew that. But I didn't know if his times held up. And then you go back and look at it, and they do. Which some of you roll your eyes and go, well, obviously. Well, I didn't know. I just knew he was great 50 years ago, literally. But it's so hard to compare eras in sports. How would Bob Cousy fare in today's NBA? I don't know. I don't know what Joe DiMaggio or Babe Ruth looks like in today's Major League Baseball. Or, Whitey Ford. I don't know what that looks like in today's baseball. I can tell you the Secretariat, if you lined him up in the Belmont tomorrow, he'd win. And I think that's cool. I think that's cool that 50 years ago, now horses and humans, not exactly the same, I get it, but sports have evolved so much. And this is a race, you can tell. He's faster than the horses that are running right now. That, to me, is pretty cool. I'm not going to watch the Belmont tomorrow. There's not a Triple Crown. I'm not watching the Belmont. But I'm not going to bet on it. I don't really care about it. But I think it's cool. In trying to compare eras of sports, it's really difficult, and you can go back and forth. In this one, you can't. That horse, faster than them, ran on the same track, same distance. He beat him 50 years ago, still stands up. That's cool.
All right, last one here. Oklahoma seems pretty good at softball. Take it or leave it.
I will take that. They're pretty good. That's a three-peat. They lost one game this year. I mean, that's what we actually did a segment last year at this time. Spent an entire 15-minute segment on Oklahoma softball. That's how good they are. They beat everyone like a drum. I mean, what they've done over the last 3 years, they never lose. They lost 1 game this year in softball. This is not like football where you go like 15-0 and you're just better than everybody, or sometimes you got a basketball team that kind of overwhelms everybody. This is a sport that's made to have some give and take like baseball. Not for Oklahoma's women. They just beat the brakes off everybody. 60-1 or something. You should not go on a 50-game win streak in almost any sport. And Oklahoma does it routinely. They did it again this year. 50-game win streaks, that's just a joke. That is some impressive stuff. And so I guess the rest of the Southeastern Conference better buckle up, because Oklahoma's headed here for softball pretty quickly. And I guess their gymnastics program is pretty salty as well. So those that are in on softball or gymnastics have got an awakening as Oklahoma is headed to the Southeastern Conference. Congrats to the Lady Sooners for getting that win. That's going to do it for us here at Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Told you they got an unbelievable deal going on the greatest of frozen pieces. Those are the Red Barons. Come on by. Matt's about to take the reins here with Ryan Terrio, who's also here. They're going to be doing After Further Review for the next 3 hours from Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Our Friday show's always brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Check them out for some tailgates this weekend. Check them out for lunch or dinner this weekend. Fantastic stuff over there at Corks. Delicious fried Gulf shrimp, delicious crispy catfish. Love those guys and appreciate them for bringing you our Friday shows. That'll do it for us. If you missed anything, catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or, of course, on YouTube. Tigers in Kentucky for a couple of games. We're back on Monday reacting to all of it. I got a feeling it's going to go pretty well. See you on Monday, same time, same place, 1 to 3 on 1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by